Hello, my name is Steve Mylett, and I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Bellevue. Our country is experiencing tremendous turmoil, and throughout our region, throughout our nation, and here in Bellevue. The times that we're living in are truly historic. Bellevue is going to be part of the solution, and Bellevue is going to be part of the conversation. My hope is that we will emerge as a stronger nation, a stronger region, and a stronger community. We need to end systemic racism. We need to end injustices, inequality, wherever it breathes. We need to stomp it out as quickly as we can. We should have done it all this time, but we are where we are, and the conversations and the dialogue needs to start. The purpose of today's video, however, is to address the Bellevue community, address the issues that happened on Sunday, May 31st, where violence erupted in our downtown corridor. I know many of you have questions. And joining me today is Megan Black. She's received your questions, and together I hope that we can answer some of them. So with that, Megan.
So Chief, did the police department know that there was going to be a violent incident Sunday, May 31st? And if you did, what was done to prepare?
So we had no clue what was going to actually occur in Bellevue on Sunday. We had started gathering intelligence the day before when Mayor Durkin announced a curfew in Seattle. On Saturday evening, we started seeing chatter, our intelligence officers did, on some of the social networking groups. And in that chatter, they mentioned Bellevue. And quote unquote, Bellevue doesn't have a curfew, and Bellevue can build it back in a day. Then the chatter stopped. So what I did immediately, as soon as I saw that, I mobilized the police department. I recalled all of our officers. We immediately went into 12-hour shifts to prepare for the possibility that we would see looters in Bellevue. Again, it wasn't protesters that I was concerned about. Bellevue welcomes the world. Diversity is our strength. And that includes allowing people and encouraging people to raise their voices when they believe injustices have occurred. And Bellevue has a long reputation of supporting protests in the city to provide that safe space. Wasn't concerned about the protests. I was concerned about the criminal element that hijacks the protests, and we saw that directly here in Bellevue and elsewhere in our country and in our region.
So you went into an emergency type stance. What does that mean?
So we started preparing our bike team, our SWAT team, our crowd control units. We started communicating with downtown businesses, the areas where the criminal element, and folks, Megan, these are gang members that are organizing this. These are gangs in Seattle, in Tacoma, Everett, and throughout the region. We started sharing this information with our key stakeholders in the downtown area, the business community, giving them as much information and advance warning as we possibly could. We held nothing back. We gave everything that we had as far as our intelligence. We strategically placed our officers in different areas of the city that we believe were going to be the subject of attack. And then the arrival happened, and it was something that none of us in my profession has ever seen before.
So how did it turn so quickly?
Because it was a well-coordinated attack. These individuals were communicating, they were strategizing, and we had witnessed this from New York to LA, from Minneapolis down to Austin, Texas, and everywhere in between. I was out there in the field with my employees. I'm not going to tell you what our numbers were because I don't want to share that information. But we had as many officers as we could at the time. We were also, I'm hesitant to give any intelligence information on how we dealt with the situation because I don't want to give the enemy, the criminal element, any more information than I need to. But the downtown business owners and the residents have a right to know. We were relying on mutual aid out of Seattle. And I don't think it was accidental that right before our situation erupted, another violent protest happened in Seattle, locking up their resources. And so what we were relying on actually didn't come. It came later from other police agencies, but for a period of time we were on our own. I was at the intersection of Northeast 8th and Bellevue Way. And I watched as a group of 20 people arrived at that intersection on the sidewalk in front of the AT&T store. And they were holding signs. And George Floyd's name was on there. And I said, okay, this is going to be a protest, and God bless them, that's raise your voices. We need to hear it. What happened to George Floyd was an injustice. It was a crime. That 20 turned into 40 within a blink of an eye. And then I saw this. I saw somebody leaning down into their chest like they were talking into a microphone. Then I saw another person get on the phone. And within minutes, there was this tsunami of people coming to that intersection. They dropped the George Floyd signs. What that team was an advanced recon team. They took over the intersection. They started heading towards Crate Barrel. They pivoted and went straight over to the Hyatt. And they were going to start breaking windows and destroying things. Again, we had mobilized our employees. We were in the area. We got there very quickly, and we were able to deter the damage. But from there, that 300 group just spread out throughout the city. And that 300 group, within, again, minutes, swelled to about 1,000. My employees are estimating at the height of this, it was between 1,000 and 2,000 people inside of Bellevue. And it just overwhelmed our resources.
So a lot of people are saying they watched the riot on TV. They saw it happen, and it looked like Bellevue police let it happen. They watched it happen. How's that?
So our priority of things, number one, is the preservation of life and the sanctity of life. Making sure that we are doing everything in our power to ensure no one loses their life. That includes the residents in downtown, business owners, the looters themselves, the rioters themselves, and of course police officers. So we knew also that some of the individuals among the criminal cells were carrying firearms. It's hard to understand how the perception is that we allowed the looting to occur. I promise you that every police officer that was out there wanted to tackle down these individuals, put them in handcuffs, and get them out of there. But every officer that it would take to arrest one person, because it's riot conditions, we need 3 officers to handle the one arrest. Why? Because the other rioters will swell and get on top of the officers to de-arrest the person that we're arresting. And in that, injury occurs and at times death. The other issue is that for every officer I take out of the field to process the arrest, that's less resources I have available to me to preserve life, to reduce likelihood of injury to people, to prevent structure fires, and then it goes on from there. So that's when people are seeing looting occurring, it's not that we did not want to respond, we didn't have the resources to respond effectively. Because had we done that, then there would be no police presence in the downtown corridor.
So moving forward, if this is their tactic nationwide, Seattle, Bellevue, how are you going to adjust as a force, a department, as a law enforcement agencies to prevent this thing from happening again?
So this conversation is going to happen at the national level as well, because what we experienced here in Bellevue, they experienced in New York. 40,000 cops, and they overwhelmed the police forces there. Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, and everywhere across the country. It was the same tactic. We're going to learn from it. We've already started debriefing, starting coming up with countermeasures, which I'm not going to discuss here, to prevent further incidents from occurring in the future. I can't guarantee it, but we're going to do everything in our power to ensure that we do what we can to prevent it.
So I'm also hearing Are you going to do everything in your power to catch these people
yeah.
and go after them?
Megan, we're already doing it. So that day of the riots, there's a perception that we didn't make any arrests. We did. We arrested 14 different people. The youngest person was 13 years of age. The oldest was 61. In the middle, and let me just also touch on this, in the middle of this chaos and this violence, a peaceful group of protesters arrived at Northeast 4th and Bellway. And they were loud, they were angry, they were hurt, and they were raising their voices up like they should have been. And we needed to provide that safe space for them to do that. Because as we've seen elsewhere in the country, you have people that drive vehicles into those crowds to harm them. And we had one such incident. Had the officers not been there, I believe, that there could have been injury to these peaceful protesters. That's why we had to keep officers there. And again, I get the optics on it. As we're engaging the crowd, there's looting going on behind us. Preservation of life, safety of human beings, protection of property to prevent the arson, and then it goes on from there. We made 14 arrests that day, but that's when the work started. The work started after everything calmed down, and we were able to bring peace to the downtown area. We are arresting people for the looting, for burglary, for the crimes that were committed in the downtown area on May 31st. We've identified 75 to 80 people that we're going to go and arrest. We've started recovering property, and we're just getting started. We've still been in our defensive posture with our 12-hour shifts and everything. As our officers go back to their normal duties and they focus in on these investigations, I promise you there's going to be many, many more arrests. And we will bring people to justice. I can't guarantee everybody. I can't guarantee that we're going to recover all property that was stolen, but we've recovered tens of thousands of dollars worth of property. And we're going to do our best to get as many people in cuffs and brought to justice as possible.
And quickly, the video that residents and bystanders and witnesses have turned into the police has been invaluable.
Megan, I always say they're eyes. They are our eyes and ears, and would make the plea to anyone who has video footage, has evidence, license plate numbers, to please share it with our police department. I know that we've put up a website, and I think we'll share, in this interview, where they can go and upload that information. Please share it with us. The Downtown Business Association has been a tremendous partner. The Chamber has been a tremendous partner getting the word out. Most of the businesses in the downtown have cameras, and again, it's phenomenal evidence. We know who they are. We know who a big group of them are, and we're going to get them.
So I think in wrapping up, people were shocked. They're angry that this happened in Bellevue, that they feel as if we were inadequate in our response and in our preparation. And what can you say to them moving forward?
I promise you, I'm as angry as anybody. Did I experience loss? This is my city. I'm the chief of police, and I lost, and I don't like to lose. We were as prepared as we possibly could be with the resources that we had. Not trying to make excuses, that's a fact. But I know that people feel like we let them down, and for that, I'm sorry. That was never our intention. It's never our intention. The only thing I can offer is that we're going to evaluate this. We're going to try and be better prepared next time, and we're going to bring these people to justice, as many as we possibly can, and we're going to recover as much property. I toured the downtown area. I went into Bell Square and I saw all the destruction and damage, and I'm not saying this just to say it. I wanted to cry. We got victimized. This entire city got victimized. Whether you lived in the downtown area or not, this is our city, and we got victimized. And now we need to heal. And so I know people are relying on us to take the lead on that, and we're going to do our best. But we want to hear from the community. What else can I do to help in the healing process? And I know number one is going to be, don't make sure this doesn't happen again. And again, I can't guarantee that. When you look at it across the board, coast to coast, north to south, we were not immune from these tactics. We're going to learn from them, and we will counter them.
Do you welcome more questions?
Absolutely, I welcome more questions. I will make myself available to any group that wants to speak with me about it. And especially as hopefully at some point we come out of COVID, but we can do Zoom chats. We can do whatever the community wants. I will make myself available and my entire police department available.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Megan.